Is there any donor friction in your fundraising? And if so, what does it look like? Is it similar to a train's heated wheel during an emergency stop? Let me explain the context of this question. To begin with, have you ever arrived at a fundraising event only to find out that it had been canceled? That's what happened to Margaret and to me this week. I had come from the close of a 2-day technology and impact investing event 10 miles away at Dallas Baptist University. This was a well-crafted event offered by the Lion's Den DFW. This was my third year to attend, but for Margaret, things were different. She had driven 1.5 hours by herself in rush hour traffic from 40 miles away in Fort Worth to get to the event. We arrived separately at 6:10 p.m. for the published 6:30 start time. However, the large parking lot was completely empty. Either we were at the wrong address, or perhaps we were unfashionably early, or something worse. Well, it was something worse. As 4 other donor cars pulled up behind us, the security guard came out and regretfully informed us that the event had been canceled. Some unspecified complication with the speaker. Though this was a bit frustrating, the event was on my way home, and after 2 days of intense meetings at DBU, an early out wasn't all bad news. But for Margaret, it wasn't good news at all. This meant driving another 1.5 hours in heavy traffic back to Fort Worth, empty-handed, and not even an hors d'oeuvre to help pass the time away. Oh, did I mention that Margaret is 80 years of age? This is, to say the least, not frictionless fundraising. Can't you just imagine our thoughts and feelings? No, it wasn't the end of the world, and I did get to go home early, so that was good. But it would have been enjoyable to have met the multi-starred Army General who was the guest speaker for the cause-related event. Plus, I had 4 other event options that same night, and I chose this one over all of the others. You and I both know life is not a straight line. Some days things work out a different way. But here's the grind. This is when wheels on rails heat up because of donor friction. In contacting the event organizer the next day, she expressed disappointment about the canceled event, plus the lack of notice to all who promptly showed up on time. But she quickly reminded me that her organization had posted the cancellation on social media. Obligation, responsibility, and culpability all resolved by a simple post on social media. As you might imagine, social media was not high on my priority list when I was deeply engaged in the 2 days of intense meetings, lunches, dinners, and connecting with many of the 800 people who were there in attendance. For me to follow the social media of the organization during those 2 days was a low-interest consideration. And for Margaret, well, she doesn't follow social media at all. She only follows Jesus. High donor friction, low donor consideration. Or as my friend John Harrington says, wrong church, wrong pew. To which I now add, wrong train, wrong station. Which brings us to what we as advanced people might further consider, and that is to ask, where are we creating unnecessary friction for our donors? How about our landing pages with too many extra steps or too many unclear instructions? Or maybe our websites with some lost in space navigation that only those who carry a wireframe degree can maneuver, while we mere mortal donors exit with frustration. In my college class of 60 bright marketing students that I teach at UT Dallas, one of the core principles we study is to, and I quote, make it easy for your customers to do what they already want to do, end quote. The same goes for we development pros. Our job is to make it easy for our donors to do what they already want to do, which typically is to fund our nonprofit's mission, purpose, and outreach. They want to give and then receive, in turn, the joy of helping those who are in need, the people who are struggling with life and who could use a little help here and there. So we ask ourselves, are we making it easy for our donors to give where, how, and through which means they prefer? Have we afforded them plenty of options to participate in our purposes? Or are we limiting the ways they can make a contribution to make the world a better place? Do we only allow them to donate online with a credit card, or maybe only to give through the mail with a check or a card? How about if there is a way that they can donate by calling a toll-free number, via QR code, text, direct deposit, EFT, payroll deduction, Bitcoin, or even, hold your breath now, cash? And what about AI Direct? Whenever that arrives, and surely it will in some form in the future, or maybe even blinking into Gemini AI on their screen-free assistant, Google Glasses. With the rapid convergence of new and old tech flowing into dependable direct mail, plus both forms being based on never-changing human needs, we fundraisers are challenged to understand and accommodate our donors with the way they want to give and not just with the way we want them to give. A recent study by Uswitch Research indicates that the average adult spends 16 hours a week on Facebook, plus another 9 hours on YouTube. Want to guess how many times most Americans look at their phones in one day? What do you think? 50 times? How about 96? Nope. That was the number way back in the dark ages of 2019. If you said 351 times a day, it'd still be off by one. It's 352 times according to Ashurian research. Well, now it's 353. In applying integrated marketing communications, we know not all marketing channels relate to all markets, or to us, all donors. And not all donors are on the same channels at the same time. Though if they were, they wouldn't be there very long, says orientation marketing. They would only be there for about 1 minute. The median dwell time is 37 seconds, which is coupled by over 50% of people spending only 15 seconds on a post. In fact, as reported by the University of Maine, we humans collectively spend 11.5 billion hours on social media platforms every day. It is no wonder we are so drained at night. Nevertheless, of all of those daily 11.5 billion hours, none of them were spent by Margaret or me this past Thursday before arriving at the canceled event. 11.5 billion hours a day, and we still can't rely on our donors to receive our funding messages via social. However, 1 2-minute email or even a 5-minute phone call would have saved Margaret 3 hours driving in traffic and having less donor friction. Margaret and I didn't get a chance to discuss her charitable intent before she pulled out of the parking lot, but it's a pretty safe bet that one or more such times like this for her would soon become one or less times she would donate to that nonprofit. Among our many privileges as fundraising professionals, one is to free up our donors to give as they wish, to eliminate any friction in their giving. Most likely, they already have plenty of friction in their lives and are not looking to add any more, especially from us. For over 30 years, we at Bigham Nonprofit Advisors have set up donor communication programs, processes, and procedures that inform, inspire, and engage donors to support a 501c3 like yours. And for your convenience, we are always open to a courtesy call. While connected, we can visit, chat, or explore options for your consideration. Our well-earned jobs as advancement ambassadors are not always easy, and sometimes our good work goes unacknowledged, though I think most often we are appreciated. especially when we tell our donors, like Margaret, that the event has been canceled before she gets there, so that she doesn't in turn consider canceling us before she gets back from there. And in closing, always remember that all roads lead to the same castle, but not all journeys are the same to get there. Until the next issue of Castle Roads, travel well, Epole.